Okay. So we have 45 people who have joined us. Thank you very much for being with us today. Um, Today, inshallah, I'll be talking about the uh, PSF framework and applying it in distance learning context. This presentation comes from my experience as a lecturer at the UTIL and being a former director of quality assurance and currently director of the administrative and technical programs. So without further ado, the goals of today's workshop will be to apply the PSF dimensions in the design of distance learning sessions. I hope the screen is clear. Is the screen is available? Can you see it?
Yes, it's
Okay.
clear, Doctor. We can see. Assalamu
Okay.
alaikum. We can see. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. And the second goal will be to develop effective online assessments, but the emphasis won't be on the online assessments because this is another workshop that is going to be conducted on Wednesday with Dr. Hassan Al-Wadi and will enhance the student support and engagement. So today I will be covering the following topics. First, I'm going to go through the PSF in general and we'll discuss it. And then I'm going to discuss what we have learned from experience so far. Then we'll cover the PSF and the current context. Together, I will also show you some practical examples of the changes that I have personally made to meet the PSF in the current circumstances. And then we'll end up the presentation with a few recommendations. So if we first talk about the PSF, which stands for the Professional Standard Framework. The Professional Standard Framework The Professional Standard Framework was named the UK PSF previously until 2023, but then the Advanced HE thought that the UK PSF is kind of limiting the framework to the UK context. So they have rephrased and changed the framework. They come up with a new title called the PSF in general, which is the Professional Standard Framework, which is what we are currently applying in the UTIL since. Sorry, I thought my mic was unmuted. Anyway, so the previous name was the UK PSF until 2023, but the context of the UK PSF was kind of limiting to the UK. So they have rephrased and changed the framework to become the PSF in general, which is the Professional Standard Framework since 2023, which is what we the current framework ensures and emphasizes on effective, inclusive, and impactful practices. So even the participants who are together with us this year and the previous years, 2000 and since 2023, we always emphasize that whatever activities they are going to conduct, it has to be effective, inclusive, and impactful. The difference between the current PSF and the previous UK PSF, just to put you in context of what we are going to talk about today, the new PSF is based on 5 areas of activity. And these areas of activities were simplified, they are focused, and they focus on the outcome and the impact. The professional values were also changed. There are 5 professional values now, focusing on equity and inclusive practice. And lastly, there are 5 core knowledge dimensions, which focus on the evidence and how they support the learning process of the learners. So if we go through these areas together, we have 5 areas of activity. Area 1 is basically the design and the planning of learning activities. Area 2 is teaching and supporting learning through appropriate environments. Area 3 didn't change much, but they rephrased it into the assessment and giving feedback to learners. And Area 4 is supporting and guiding learners, while Area 5 is enhancing practice through continuous. And if we go through the core knowledge, K1 is about how the learners learn. K2 is about our approaches to teaching, how we deliver the material. K3 is all about critical evaluation, but keep in mind that K3, for those who have finished the the CPD and the NTB and the PCAP on the all the framework. K3 here is about how we evaluate our practices, not how we evaluate the students' performance. So this is a major difference between them. K4 is the use of digital technologies and resources of learning, including libraries, the internet, sightseeing, etc. And K5 is the requirement for quality assurance, enhancement, and their implications. When we go to the professional values, V1 is about respecting individual learners. V2 is all about promoting engagement. V3 is about using the scholarship, research, and professional learning. V4 is responding the wider context, in our situation, the University of Bahrain. And V5 is about collaborating with others to enhance a practice. So let's dive now into the second part of the workshop. I gave an introduction about the PSF. I cannot go into more details due to time constraints. Now we'll jump into learning from experience. Now, before we move to the learning from experience, there's a small activity that I would like to participate in. If you don't mind scanning the QR code and answering the question that's on the code. I will copy the link as well in the chat if you are accessing from a mobile. Okay, so basically there is a question, a simple question. If you could participate, if you don't mind, please scan the QR code or join through the link that I have posted in the chat. Just open the form. You can please participate in the form. It doesn't work. Okay, 1 second. I will share an updated link. Click on this link. Okay, so the question was, what are the difficulties you are currently facing with distant learning or teaching? So far, the responses were engagement by the students, response from the students, student engagement, student participation, less communication compared to face-to-face contact, weak engagement, I agree. One of the main difficulties is maintain consistent student engagement and interaction on an environment. Again, weak engagement, positive response from the students. Few students have technical issues, connection issues, making students speak, respond, and even express their challenges. Student participation, engagement, face-to-face interaction. As I can see that most of you are currently facing issues with the students' engagement. However, if you think about it, there are more issues than just the students' engagement. It says you need to be added as an external participant. Maybe you'll, I will change, sorry, I'll change the settings to allow everyone to participate. We have changed the settings. Now everyone can join. You don't have to be logged in. Please use the updated link. Students are not paying attention even while attending the sessions, less communication. All right. Some students are not serious about learning when it comes to online sessions. Yeah, I do agree with that. For some reason, they think that online learning is, I don't know, it's like they're taking a break from learning and teaching in general. So if we go back, I just wanted to collect your views about the issues that you are currently experiencing. And to summarize it, most of you are currently complaining or facing issues with the students' engagement. But if we go back to experience, and I'll quote Albert Einstein on this, he said, the only source of knowledge is experience, which I highly agree with him, especially in the current circumstances. Now, why did I bring up his quote? I brought it up for a reason, because if you remember, we've been through similar situation back in 2020 when COVID-19 hit. COVID-19 ended in 2023, even though we may have returned to teaching and regular face-to-face before that, but officially it has ended in 2023. Sorry about that. So between this 2020 and 2023, we've been through some issues and solutions. If you remember, we had to rapidly shift towards online learning. And during that time, we faced some issues and we came up with a few solutions to it. In 2025, Baba. So sorry for that. Please excuse me. I'm going crazy. I think some of you also share the same feeling
It's
with
okay,
me.
doctor.
Okay, and then
It's okay.
so in
Relax. We
2000,
are all together in this.
thank you very much. So in 2025, we've been through a regional conflict, but luckily we did not remain online for a long period. It was only for a few days. However, what happened this year is the conflict, as you know, and you all experience, is major, and we are not sure when are we going back to regular face-to-face teaching. So, because of this uncertainty, we need to come up with some innovative solutions to the current issues that we are having. Now, the question is, are we able to replicate whatever we have done in the COVID-19 period or not? Let's go through some of the experiences and the knowledge that we have gained in that period. Now, what I've done is, with the help of our friend ChatGPT, I gave ChatGPT the the PSF, the Professional Standard Framework, and I asked ChatGPT to kind of create a word cloud about what are the most common terms that were repeated. And as you can see, the term teaching replicated a lot, the term learning, assessment, providing feedback to students, providing them with support, and the students themselves and the design and inclusivity. So based on this word cloud, I came up with 5 different areas of issues and hopefully solutions that we're going to discuss. So on COVID-19, together with the current conflict that we are going through now, based on my experience, the issues is not only limited with the students' engagement. If you think about it, there was a rapid shift to online and to hybrid teaching, and this is related to area one and area two. There was a transformation of assessment, and we had to also maintain academic integrity, which is area three. When it comes to area four, there is an increased need for student support and well-being, together with digital divide and inequality in access. And I believe most of you have noticed it with your students. The students can, they usually tell us, I don't have access to a laptop, I cannot access the session, I have problem with Blackboard Ultra or with the lockdown. We're going to go through that into details. And the last area is accelerated professional development and collaboration. So as you can see, I have covered the 5 areas, but I have picked the most common issues or problems that we are currently encountering. So if I take the PSF and I link it with the current context, I came up with the following models. If we take area one and area two, which is the rapid shift to online and hybrid teaching, the challenge that we face and we are still facing is the immediate transition from face-to-face to digital delivery without full preparation. And if I recall correctly, the war started on a Saturday, and we were expected to shift to online teaching, regardless if we were prepared or not. So I believe this caused humongous stress on us and on the themselves. So what did we have to do? Related to area one and area two, we had to redesign the learning activities, also the delivery methods. When it comes to K2 and K4, the new pedagogies and digital technologies, because we needed to adapt to the online teaching method, whether we like it or not. And in V4, we also had to respond to the external and the global context. Let's take them one by one. When it comes to area one, which is the redesign of learning activities and the delivery methods, how can we align whatever design we made with the PSF? So what did we have to do to make whatever activities we have conducted aligned with the PSF? First, we had to redesign lectures into smaller sessions, and I've done that personally. I looked at the material that I have delivered to students with regular face-to-face teaching, and I thought, I think this is too much for online teaching. So I had to narrow down the content and I had to slim down the slides a bit. We also have to simplify the content and focus on key learning outcomes. We know that teaching face-to-face is totally different than teaching online. Students usually get bored from online teaching, and as you have mentioned, there is low engagement. The engagement isn't the same as face-to-face, simply because the students can see us, we can't see them if the cameras were not open. There is limited interaction. So to make use of the lecture time, my suggestion is to simplify the content and focus on key learning outcomes. You have to redesign the subject material and the teaching approach. Whatever approach you were doing in the classroom does not really apply with online. And I'm going to show you a few examples from my courses. When it comes to K2 and K4, yes, we had to adopt new pedagogies and digital technologies. What did we have to do? We had to come up with alternative teaching approaches, whether they were visual and auditory. For example, now we have to use images a lot more, videos, maybe sound videos, maybe recorded clips, videos of us demonstrating in the laboratory or holding some model to explain it to the students. So now we need to emphasize a lot on changing whatever we were doing. Now we have to use the features that are available on a Blackboard a bit more. So we have to use the questions, the polls, gamification, so quizzes, Quizalize, whatever platform you are using, and try to make them short tasks to engage the students more with the content. Again, because I believe this was your biggest concern, try to embed different style of questions. Instead of you asking oral questions to the class in general, how about you just pop in a question in the chat, or you use the polls? Uh, did you understand this material? Yes, no. You can ask them simple question about the material that you have taught or the previous knowledge that they have. You can use gamification such as Quizalize and Quizzes just to increase the engagement. And believe me, it works. From my personal experience with the students, even though kind of small now, they don't exceed 15 students compared to 60 students that I was teaching previously. Using gamification, using polls, using Microsoft Forms, the way I have just done with you guys, makes a big difference. The students are usually attracted to the material and they show higher engagement and they look forward to the lectures. I've noticed there's an increase in the attendance rate once I have introduced these kind of digital technologies. So you can also use Microsoft Form quizzes to add value. When it comes to professional value for, which is related to the responsiveness to the external and the global context. Don't forget that we are part of the University of Bahrain. So we need to follow institutional guidelines and directions, whether it comes to quality assurance guidelines, curriculum guidelines, whatever guidelines that are currently existing, those that are formulated and announced on the spot depending on the change of the circumstances. To align your teaching also with V4, you also had to respect Ramadan and fasting. The lecture hours were shorter. The students' attention span was much lower. Even us, we get tired during Ramadan, and no one can argue about that. So we had to also respect that the war was going on during the month of Ramadan, and we had to do online teaching as well. You should also be ready for any change in circumstances. We all know what happened to Amazon. Sorry. انزين شغله بروحك. So the issues that happened with Amazon affected the SIS and also the attendance recording application or website. So we had to adapt with it quickly. Some of us took the attendance manually, and I personally went back to the previous sessions that I had, and I had to record the attendance manually from Blackboard, and I updated into the SIS. When it comes to Area 3, which is the transformation of assessment and academic integrity, the issue that we all faced was the replacement of printed exams with electronic and authentic assessments. We've all been through it in COVID, but some of the faculty members have joined the University of Bahrain after the COVID pandemic, so they weren't familiar with Blackboard and how to establish an assessment on Blackboard during this period. So we had to redesign the assessment and feedback strategies related to K3 and K5. We also had to critically evaluate our practices, and I'm going to talk about that in details, while make standards when it comes, as I said, to quality assurance and maintaining academic integrity. Aligning our practices with V3 also means that we had to use evidence-informed approaches to ensure the validity of the assessments that we are conducting. And I believe there was a lecture by Dr. Basma last week where she talked about alternative assessment methods to the online period. So if we take A3 separately, redesign of assessment and feedback, don't forget that whatever assessment we are going to upload or create on Blackboard had to reflect the intended learning outcomes, which is basically the constructive alignment. We need to see what were the learning outcomes, what were the materials that we covered, and if the assessment was aligned with all of these elements of the course. Second, it was very important to determine, are we going to use selected responses only or constructed response questions? Selected response questions, by this I mean multiple choice questions, true and false questions, changing the order of the answer in Blackboard, or are we going to use constructed response questions, which are based on short answer, long answer, fill in the blanks, etc. Now, when it comes to the study and examination regulation at the University of selected response, i.e., MCQs and true and false, and the remaining 50% had to be short answer and essay questions. Did all of you follow that rule when it comes to the assessment on a blackboard? I'm not sure. Many faculty members took the easy way and simply constructed their assessment using just MCQs or a hybrid between MCQs and true and false because it can be easily corrected, it can be automatically corrected by Blackboard. However, keep in mind, are you measuring the intended learning outcomes? Are you fulfilling the intended learning outcomes by doing so? I don't think so. All assessments, even if they were online, need to have some sort of a constructed response questions. Third, we need to have clear instructions, we need to show transparency, and we need to give the students objective measures. And I'm going to show you an example. We are going to upload, if we are going to upload an assessment on a Blackboard, the instructions to the faculty or to the students had to be clear. We need to give them instructions exactly when to join, how to join. If they were facing any issues, we need to list down what are the available resources, and we need to also to be online to support them. I'm going to show you an example on that. If we're going to cover K3 and K5, it's about critical evaluation and maintaining academic standards. We need to follow the institutional quality assurance and distant learning guidelines. These were established and they were announced earlier back in COVID-19 pandemic, and they were updated even recently. Don't forget that if you want to align your activities with the PSF, you need to activate the anti-plagiarism features. Um, Such as Safe Assign on a Blackboard. This will maintain the highest academic standards, and please make sure that you clearly stated to the students that using um, artificial intelligence in solving the questions or creating the assignment is not allowed by the University of Bahrain. And it's also clearly stated in the most recent version of description. Whatever you do, whether it was an assessment or a lecture that you have delivered, always evaluate your practices and their effectiveness. You can measure that by the engagement of the students. You can measure it by how well they perform on the assessment. There are multiple ways in which you can use and really, measure if your practices were effective or not. You can even see it, يعني, let's not complicate it. Even while you are delivering a lecture, like I'm delivering a lecture now or a workshop, if you deliver a topic and you notice complete silence from the students or the participants, you know that there is something wrong. If there is no engagement from the students, you know that there is something wrong. So you need to rapidly change your style. Maybe stop the sharing, ask questions directly to a student. Try to, I would say, wake up the students from their nap while giving a lecture. So that's a very basic method of how K3 is applied here. Now, using V3 is basically rethinking the assessment format based on the literature. We know that not all types of assessments work for online teaching. As I said earlier, if you just give them MCQs and true and false, are we really measuring what they are supposed to learn? Are we really fulfilling the intended learning outcomes? So you also need to think about the published scholarship and research about effective assessment methods in your field that are tailored for online or distance learning. A recommendation, you can conduct a mini action research. For those of you who have completed the CPD and the PCAPA programs, maybe you are familiar with the action research about a complete cycle which takes a full semester and you need to see the results before and after. No. What I mean is, let's take a hypothetical scenario. You deliver a lecture on Monday and you notice that the students' engagement was low. So what do? You have to redesign the lectures. You have to embed some activities into the lecture itself. And when you redeliver the lecture on Wednesday, notice the engagement of the students. Did it increase? Did the participation increase? Are the students more enthusiastic about the lecture? Did the attendance rate increase? By the way, this is a mini action research. It's not formal. You did not plan it well. You did not write it down. But action research is all about making small changes to your practices and seeing the effect on the learners. Attending workshops and online training, such as this workshop and the workshops that you attended earlier, also helps. What I did here is I merged the two elements of Area 4, which is increased need for student support and well-being, together with the digital divide and inequality and access, together into one slide. Basically, because what we are facing is that students have unequal access to devices, the internet, or suitable learning environments. For one, personally, have a student who shares her laptop with her brothers and sisters who are also going to school. So imagine the time that they attend the lecture, the utilization of the laptop, how it's being distributed among three siblings. We are aware that the students are facing difficulties and issues, and we need to be empathetic a little bit with it and be supportive. Students also face isolation, anxiety, and unequal access to learning resources. Some students previously used to use the library for learning or simply for studying there. Now they cannot. Now they are living in a household where they have two, three siblings who are all attending school online. They don't have a quiet place to study. The sirens will go on at any moment. Some of them were evacuated from their houses. So we also need to be considerate about these circumstances. So how can we reflect our teaching and learning material to support A4 in this scenario? We need to design accessible learning and support structures. We also need to consider the subject materials, the diverse learners, and the appropriate inclusive use of technology. I'm going to talk about that in details. And think about the inclusive practices and equity in access and engagement. Let's see how we can fulfill it. Now, if we want to align A4 here with the PSF, we need to design accessible learning outcomes. Basically, we need to redesign the material to meet a diverse group of learners. Keep in mind, not all learners are born the same. Not all of them can grab the idea or understand the material we gave them uh, at the same level as their peers. Sometimes you have to lower your pace. Sometimes you need to go a bit quicker. You need to sometimes to trim down the material because not all learners learn the same. Many students, by the way, they hate online teaching, regardless of what you read in the social media that they want to stay at home. They want to stay at home for a reason that all of us know. But when it comes to reality, many students would like to return back to the classroom. What I highly recommend as a father and as a lecturer who is holding a department and teaching in another college, please record your sessions on a Blackboard. Not all students have the opportunity to join a Blackboard on time. Some of them may miss a material, may miss a question, may miss a clarification, and they want to go back to it later on. Forget about the attendance for now. They have to attend. Taking the attendance and the absence is mandatory, I know. But to show them some support, please record the sessions and allow accessibility to all learners. Not all of them have access to laptops during the time of the lectures. So to show them support, please record the session. Provide support on the learning platforms during office hours. What I instructed the faculty in my department is at the beginning of semester, you have a schedule, and this schedule includes your lecture and the office hours. Please utilize the office hours and be online to respond to messages on Blackboard and on Teams. The students have queries, they have questions, they need some clarification. So please be online. Don't forget, it's called remote working. It's not called remote holiday. We are still required to show up to the lectures. We are still required to support our students during working hours and even after working hours. If I show you the amount of messages I receive after 8 p.m. and how I respond to them, I'd be like, you're working the whole day. I know we are in special circumstances and we need to support the students. So when it comes to K1 and K4, make use of the numerous digital and online resources. There are many free you can add the link to the lecture. You can design your material there. You can do some sort of a simulation. You can, like my colleagues in the medical laboratory sciences, previously, and even the pharmacy, they used online simulation software to replicate the experiments in the lab, adding chemical A to chemical B will create this one, and there are some ready-made slides of the red blood cells and white blood cells. So make use of the numerous digital resources that are available online. Make use of AI, by the way, and I know that there were many workshops related to AI. AI is a valuable tool, but be careful. Don't believe everything AI tells you. Okay, so you need, as an instructor, to review the material, review the content before it's being given to the students. You should also use visual and auditory aids as needed. I personally rely a lot on YouTube to show the students some case studies and some of the material that I can't cover very well in the classroom. Synchronous and asynchronous class discussions. Some of my colleagues in the physical education department, they use asynchronous discussions on Blackboard. So they basically pop a topic or a message for students to discuss offline, or you can also use online discussions and live discussions during the lecture itself, whether it was on a Blackboard or on Teams. Sorry, 1 second. She wants to watch TV now. Anyway. Okay. So inclusivity and equity and access and engagement. Try to engage with all students. Now, my personal experience is my class has 12 to 15 students, so I'm able to target questions to each student independently. I know this doesn't work with classes with a large attendees, but try your best. As I said, pop a question in the chat, use polls, use any sort of engagement to make the students attracted to the material and they engage with you a bit more. Don't expect perfect engagement all the time. There are many different circumstances. The students might be going through an examination period. During Ramadan, we know that engagement was low, but now hopefully after Eid, the engagement has increased. Another recommendation to ensure that there is equity and access, please upload all the material of the course beforehand. Even if you are going to do some sort of amendment to the course material, upload it, I would say, at least an hour or 2 hours before the lecture. This will give the students the opportunity to download them, maybe print them, download them to their iPads, and be prepared for the lecture. Support students with their technical difficulties to promote engagement. This also ensures inclusivity and engagement. I delivered a midterm test on the 28th of March. Student had issues. I'm going to show you the example later on with accessing the examination. So I had to allocate a different time for her, just for her to complete the examination, and to give her the opportunity the same way I gave to the other students. Now, we all know that the university study and examination rules apply that they need to have some sort of bereavement certificate or a death certificate, sorry, or they need to have some sort of a medical excuse or an accident, whatever, for us to give them the exam or allow them to sit for the exam once again. Please be compassionate. Please be empathetic with the students. As I said, not all of them have equal access to the material. When it comes to which is the collaboration, all of us, including me as a head of a department, within 1 day, I was requested that everything should shift online. So continuous professional development is important for the staff and even for you. Maintaining pedagogical strategies and adapting new strategies together with uh, applying reflective practice is also important. And lastly, collaboration with teams and institutions from other colleagues. Now, I'm not going to separate each one of them in this scenario, because I believe that all of these dimensions are interconnected in a way that if we want to achieve continuous professional development together with adapting pedagogies, we need to attend workshops like the one you are attending. We need to go through trainings and we need to do some readings. Trainings now is readily available online. You can attend courses for free on Coursera. You can attend courses on Udemy. Whatever you want to learn now, you can learn it online. You don't have to be physically active or physically present in a place to learn something new. And to collaborate with our colleagues and other institutions, we need to have continuous meetings with each other. We need to use different sorts of applications. And as I said earlier, it's great that if you can apply a mini action research. Believe me, whatever changes you make now will make you ready for any change in circumstances later on. You never know. We might go back to physical attendance next week. We might shift back again to online learning the following after. Nobody knows what's going to happen. But if you are well experienced and you have the tools, you will be ready to any change in the circumstances. Now, let's go through examples. I will show you some examples from my courses. So when it comes to A1 and A2, apologies for those who don't understand Arabic, but the course I'm teaching is sports injuries and first aid, which is delivered to physical education students. And the course is delivered in Arabic, unfortunately. So the examples I currently have are in Arabic, but I'm going to explain them. So part of the lecture about brain concussion, I used to show the students a video about the symptoms of brain concussion. But I noticed afterwards the students don't engage much. So I was like, this was an effective strategy in the classroom. But now in online learning, I thought of, you know what? Let me ask them about the symptoms of concussion. And instead of me saying it, I asked the students to report it, and then we posted it on the slides. So these are just samples of the symptoms that a patient with a brain concussion will feel. Another thing, previously when I used to deliver the shoulder injuries, I used to use these slides. Now, this is anatomical illustrations of the shoulder showing the injury and the mechanism of injury. And I was like, no, 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 I don't like this. I don't think this is appropriate for online teaching. I need to come up with something innovative. So, luckily, with the help of our friend ChatGPT, I gave ChatGPT an excellent prompt, and it was able to summarize about 6 slides of different content into one image. So basically, this slide is showing what are the different injuries encountered by a patient who have suffered shoulder dislocation. What might they suffer? They loved this. They were able to relate more with it because it's covering anatomy, it's covering the injury mechanism, and it's also covering some biokinetic elements of the course. So as I told you earlier, I trimmed down some of the slides. So instead of delivering 6 boring slides, I would say, I summarized them into one infographic slide that is more appropriate. I have also done this. Instead of showing them a video and explaining to them how the mechanism of anterior or posterior shoulder dislocation occurs, again, with the help of AI, I was able to deliver the message in their context because they are physical education students. Many of them are football players or basketball players. I was like, let me relate the injury mechanism to the sports that they are currently playing. We've used this. They were able to relate more and they were able to understand more the material. I have also used videos. So this is a video of Muhammad Salah's injury. He got a shoulder dislocation, but it was partial, it wasn't complete. So I use a lot of videos as well to keep them attracted to the slides. And whenever I show them a video of a sport, the engagement suddenly increases. Now, this applies to the context of my course, but I believe that it can also apply to the context of your courses. Now, let's take an example of A3. Uh, yes, Dr. Nisha, I tried to make the examples related to real life and something that they like. And some of them even corrected me. They were like, yeah, this injury happened, and I don't know minute what from this game against this match, and this player got injured, and they give me the full scenario and what happened during that match. So yeah, I wanted to show them something related more towards their sport. Now, this is a question that I usually give in a midterm exam in a paper-based, but I had to change it to electronic, and I will show you the feedback mechanism. Now, the question was about what are the considerations that you are going to take or keep in mind while applying CPR to an infant. They're supposed to write 2 points. Now, the student here wrote 3 points, but two of them were general. They are not limited to only an infant. So I gave them feedback in the feedback box above. By the way, I like online assessment because I'm able to write well without any typos or issues, and they kind of enjoyed it. Enjoyed it. After I gave them the assessment, luckily I did not receive any objections from the students. None of them objected about their none of them objected about their mark because everything was clear, and I even discussed the assessment with them online. Now, remember when I talked about transparency and being objective? Here, I'm asking the students to submit a project about a case study. Uh, in this case study, I gave them the full description of what they have to do. I even, in the attached files, I even wrote the font size, the font color, how many words, how do they apply it, how do they upload it to Google Drive, etc. So I gave them all the details they require. Not only that, I also gave them a grading rubric, and the rubric was detailed as we're going to see in a bit. I also enabled safe assign to make sure that the submissions were authentic and plagiarism was reduced to the minimum. That I have given them. As you can see, it is very much detailed. And I told the students, if you stick to it, believe me, you will get a very high mark in the assessment. Just look at the different components of the highest grade, and if you apply them and you follow them, you will get a high mark in the assessment. Um, Once again, there was a sudden change in the circumstances. And because I'm a head of a department, we have a lot of students who are training, doing their internship or practical training in different sites. Some of the students started their training before the war, some of them didn't. Some of them are currently training, and some of them stopped training. So there were many different scenarios. I met with the coordinators of the training courses in the department, and we come up with alternative assessment. Remember when I told you earlier that we need to adapt to the current circumstances? So what we came up with is three different scenarios. The students who are currently training, they need to fill up a few forms and submit a few assignments. Students who have completed some training, even if it was 2 or 3 weeks, these they need to submit a revised trainee evaluation form, recorded interview. They had to create a LinkedIn profile. We tried our best to fulfill the intended learning outcomes, and we learned from our experience during COVID pandemic, because some of these assessments were applied previously. They were effective. There were no issues with the students. So we thought, you know what? Let us reuse them in the current circumstances. And the third category, which is not showing on the slide, is for students who did not have any sort of training. This was the biggest challenge. So for these students, we instructed them to simulate that they are doing some job hunting, and it shows us evidence that they have applied for a job together with writing a CV and recording an interview. When it comes to A4, increasing engagement, this is an example. So instead of me telling the students that this player has a anterior shoulder dislocation, I just put the image and I ask the students, so what can you understand or what can you observe from the injured player's position? So they were like, "Oh, his shoulder looks weird. It doesn't look. The left shoulder doesn't look like the right shoulder." Those who were clever and read the slides beforehand immediately said he has an anterior shoulder dislocation. So this promoted engagement, and I don't limit engagement to only verbal. If they want, they can unmute themselves, or they can pop a message in the discussion. This is the example that I told you earlier. One of the students was unable to conduct the assessment at the same time as her peers simply because her laptop could not change the language from English to Arabic. And remember that this course is delivered in Arabic, so they had to complete the assessment on a blackboard while writing in Arabic. Simultaneously, logging into Blackboard requires that they input their password in English. As soon as she accessed the Blackboard and lockdown was activated, she was unable to change the language from English to دقيقة بابا شوي بي بابا ما عليه بابا شوي بي دقيقة. So I had to coordinate with her on a suitable time that suits her and suits me. Instead of doing it on a blackboard, I asked her to open Microsoft Teams, share the screen to show me that she is not teaching. At the same time, the camera was opened on her face, showing me again that she is not teaching. Um, she did very well on the exam, and she thanked me later on. When it comes to A5, sorry. Collaborating with others. This is a guide that's created by one of the faculty members in my department, and she wanted to help her colleagues into accessing a Blackboard with a complete guide on how to do the assessment and Uh, so if I want to summarize what I have said earlier, we have the PSF. It's a professional standard framework, and we need to align our practices with the PSF. I know that I have never, I haven't covered everything, but I, let's say, shed some light on the most important elements that we need to consider in the current circumstances and how we can align our practices, slides, assessments, student support, and collaboration with others to be aligned properly with the PSF. So if I want to summarize my talk today, we are going through an unprecedented situation. Even though we've been through COVID-19 before, the current situation is totally different because we don't know when it's going to end and what's going to happen later on. No one has an answer for that. So this adds a bit more stress on us and on the student. We need to think about shifting from the perfect situation to practical alternatives. I know that online teaching is not the best. I know that online assessments is not the best. I know that students sometimes they might cheat or use some alternative methods to come up with answers to the assessments. But we need to be a bit practical here. We cannot have a perfect situation, especially in the current circumstances. So the form of delivery also needs to be thought of. My recommendation is be mindful of the situation, be mindful of the circumstances that the students are going through, what your colleagues are going through. I have colleagues who are living in head area, and you know that head area um, opposite the base there were a lot of bombs and rockets, etc. So we need to be considerate about those who live in these areas. Consider the PSF in your practices, whether it was teaching, assessment, or supporting the students. And finally, just keep learning. Don't stop here. Attend more workshops, read online. You can also learn some useful information from TikTok, by the way. My second source of information after ChatGPT now is TikTok, and I'm proud of it. Thank you very much for attending today, and I would like to apologize, really apologize about the disturbance from my daughter, but I know most of you are also experiencing this. She wants to watch TV now, so I'm going to finish the workshop and going to open TV. Thank you very much for attending today. I will post the evaluation link if you can just scan the QR code. Do you have any questions or any feedback, something you want to share? You're welcome, Dr. Srija. Yes, Dr. Nisha. I'm not sure if you are able to unmute yourself.
Assalamu alaikum, doctor. Yes, I can.
Alaikum salam.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I can
good.
unmute. Yes. No question, but just compliments that thank you so much. And I think that's a very new perspective you brought by integrating the PSF framework into our online practice, because doing online, we mustn't lose sight of the PSF framework, because it definitely lends more structure and more organization to everything that we are doing by all the 5 areas. So I really enjoyed your presentation, and I found it very useful to be mindful of these areas even when we are doing online teaching. So mashallah, it's going to go a long way in keeping us on our toes. Thank you so much for that. Yes.
You're welcome,
Thank
Dr. Nisha. Thank you always for attending these workshops and for your support and encouragement.
you, Doctor. Same here. Same here. Same here.
Thank you. I was afraid that this lecture is going to be more philosophical, so I had to include some examples from my personal experience to relate it more to teaching and to the context. I'll send you the link. Thank you very much. Does anyone else have any question or any comment they would like to say? Please feel free to unmute. You're welcome, Aziza. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Nasreen. Thank you, Mrs. Nawal. All right. Thank you very much for your attendance and being here. And please evaluate the session. Your feedback is helpful for us to improve our workshops and the delivery of these workshops in the future. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email me. I'm going to write my email. Okay. Feel free to call me, message me on Teams, or send me an email. Thank you, Dr. Haifa, Sheikh Haifa, for being with us today. I highly appreciate it. Thank you, Dr. Shiraz, Dr. Nahid, Zainab. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. And hopefully, I'll see you on the workshop on Wednesday with Dr. Hassan Al Wadi. Thank you very much, and take care.